To stop reacting is the first step to becoming unreachable. If you want to be unreachable, there's something you need to understand immediately. Every time you react impulsively, you give away your power. Most people live in a constant state of reaction. They let themselves be affected by any comment, any glance, any situation that doesn't go as they expected. As long as you continue being a reactive person, you will be easy to manipulate, easy to predict, and most importantly, easy to affect. Carl Jung talked about how uncontrolled emotions are a reflection of unresolved inner shadows. That is, if something disturbs you or destabilizes you, it's not because it has power over you, but because there is something inside you that you haven't mastered yet. And here's where the problem starts. Why do you react so much? Why do you care too much about things you shouldn't? You care too much about other people's opinions. You care too much about external recognition. You care too much about feeling accepted or approved. The people who are truly unreachable have understood something that most never do. Not everything deserves a reaction, and even less so your energy. Every time you jump to defend yourself, every time you try to justify yourself, every time you respond with anger or frustration, you make it clear that they can affect you, that they have control over you, even if it's minimal. But what happens when you learn not to react? When someone insults you and you just look at them calmly. When someone tries to provoke you and your face doesn't change even a millimeter. When chaos happens around you and you remain at peace. That's when you become unreachable. How to train yourself to stop reacting. Pause before responding. Most people respond without thinking. Someone attacks you, and immediately you get defensive. But when you train your mind to pause before reacting, you take control. Ask yourself, does this really deserve my energy? Almost always the answer is no. Observe, but don't get involved. Jung spoke about the importance of observation without identification. Not everything that happens needs your participation. Sometimes the best response is none at all. Learn to see situations as if you were a spectator in a movie. Practice selective indifference. It's not about being emotionless. It's about consciously choosing what you give importance to. You can't avoid someone trying to provoke you, but you can avoid falling into their game. Master your body language, silence, calmness, and a neutral expression are powerful tools. When someone tries to throw you off balance and you simply maintain your stance without moving, without showing an obvious reaction, that's when you realize they no longer have power over you. Replace reaction with strategy. Instead of responding from emotion, choose to respond from strategy. Sometimes saying nothing is the most powerful response. Other times, a simple smile disarms any attack. Don't get carried away by the moment. Think long term. What happens when you stop reacting? When you reach this level, people perceive you differently. Some will be confused, not understanding why you don't respond as before. Others will get frustrated. Few will respect you even more because the energy of someone who is unreachable is felt, perceived, imposed. But above all, you will feel different. You'll realize that you are no longer a puppet of your emotions. Because being unreachable is not being indifferent. It's being so in control of yourself that nothing external can throw you off your axis. Exercise to strengthen your emotional control. If you really want to start practicing this, do the following. For 1 week, every time something provokes an impulsive reaction from you, wait 5 seconds before responding. Observe how your body reacts. Tension, discomfort, anxiety. Take it as a sign that there's still something you need to train. Make a list of the situations that make you react the most and analyze why. Every night, ask yourself, how many times today did I let something external affect me? Visualize the version of yourself that no longer falls into those traps. Make it your identity. When this starts to change inside of you, you begin to see the world from another level. And best of all, when you learn to let go, this power multiplies even more. And we will talk about that in the next point. When you learn to let go, you become more powerful than you can imagine. There is a truth that few understand. Attachment is the greatest weakness a person can have. Everything that binds you, everything that's hard for you to let go of, is exactly what keeps you vulnerable. The people who are truly unreachable have mastered the art of letting go. But here's the problem. Most people don't know how to let go. We cling to people, situations, and expectations, believing that if we let them go, we'll lose something important. We were taught that letting go means losing, that walking away means giving up. But the reality is different. When you learn to let go, you free yourself. Carl Jung spoke about the importance of detachment as a fundamental process for individuation. He understood that people who can't let go are chained to their past, to their pain, and to what they will never be able to control. And here lies the power. When you no longer fear losing, you become untouchable. The mistake of holding on to what's not meant for you. Ask yourself, how many times have you stayed somewhere you didn't belong? How many times have you kept a relationship that drained you just because you were afraid to let go? How many times have you tried to change someone, hoping that one day they'd become the person you need? Here's the truth you need to understand today. Nothing that you have to beg to stay is worth it. Nothing that you have to force is truly yours. Anything that costs you peace is too expensive. The strongest people have learned to let go quickly. They don't stay where they aren't valued. They don't insist where there's no respect, and they don't fear losing because they know that what's meant for them will never need to be forced. How to let go without feeling like you're losing. Change your mindset about detachment. Jung said, "What you deny enslaves you, and what you accept transforms you." Letting go is not losing. Letting go is accepting. Accepting that some people were only meant to teach you something, not to stay. Accepting that some opportunities weren't meant for you. Accepting that some cycles must close for you to move forward. Face your fear of letting go. The reason most people don't let go is fear. Fear of being alone, fear of making a mistake, fear of regretting it later. But here's the trick. When you face that fear, you realize it was never as big as you thought. Do a liberation exercise. Think of something that's hard for you to let go of today. It could be a relationship, a thought, a situation. Now ask yourself, what would happen if I simply stopped carrying this? Imagine how it would feel to be light, at peace, and at ease. That feeling of freedom is proof that letting go is the right thing to do. Repeat this phrase every time it's hard for you to let go. I trust that what is meant for me will come without effort. Because that's the truth. Nothing that's truly meant for you will need to be desperately held onto. Break the emotional attachment pattern. The next time you feel the need to insist where you're not valued, do the opposite. Walk away. Observe what happens when you don't chase after what wants to leave. You'll discover that most of the time, when you let go, the universe surprises you with something better. The ultimate test to know if you should let go. If you still doubt whether something or someone should stay in your life, do this. Imagine that they're no longer there. Observe how you feel with that idea. If you feel peace instead of anxiety, you already have your answer. Often, the problem isn't the attachment itself, but the resistance to accept the obvious. You can't hold on to something that's not meant to stay with you. The true power of letting go. When you master the art of letting go, your energy changes. You no longer live in a state of lack, but in abundance. People perceive you differently because the confidence of someone who can't lose is magnetic. You have more control over your life because you stop clinging to what doesn't serve you. Letting go is the ultimate proof of self-trust. Those who can't let go remain slaves to fear. But there's something even more powerful than letting go: the art of silence. And this is what differentiates the truly unreachable. We'll talk about that in the next point. 3. Silence and mystery increase your value. The people who are truly unreachable have mastered an art that few understand: silence. In a world where everyone wants to be seen, heard, and validated, those who know how to stay quiet and remain reserved have an incomparable advantage. Not revealing too much, not reacting impulsively, and not giving unnecessary explanations makes you someone others can't decipher. And what they can't decipher intrigues them. Carl Jung spoke about the importance of introspection and how the most powerful people are those who control their own narrative. They don't need to announce what they think, what they feel, or what they'll do. They simply act, observe, and let the results speak for themselves. But most people don't have control over their mouths or their energy. They talk too much, explain too much, try to justify themselves, and every unnecessary word they say is a piece of information others can use against them. The psychology of silence and its impact on your life. When you are too accessible, predictable, and talkative, you lose your appeal. Your value decreases because others feel like they already know everything about you. There's no mystery, no depth, nothing that makes them want to discover more. And this applies to all areas of your life. In personal relationships, if you're always available and share everything you think, you become a safe option, but not an interesting one. People take you for granted. At work, if you reveal too much about your plans and strategies, others can get ahead of you or take advantage of your information. In life in general, if you always try to explain your decisions, give reasons for everything you do, or justify every step you take, others feel they have the right to have an opinion about your life. Fact number 1, the less you reveal, the more control you have. Silence protects you. Not everyone needs to know what you think, and not everyone deserves access to your life. When you start speaking less and observing more, you begin to see the hidden game behind every conversation. When you remain silent, you become more unpredictable. No one knows what you really think, and that gives you an advantage. People respect you more because those who don't constantly explain themselves project confidence. You learn to detect people's energy. Listening more and speaking less allows you to identify hidden intentions. How to use mystery to your advantage. Don't reveal your plans until they're already in motion. Many people fail because they announce their moves before executing them. Don't warn, just do it. Don't explain your decisions. You don't have to justify yourself to anyone. If you made a decision, stand firm and let the results speak for you. Control your body language. Mystery isn't only in what you say, but also in how you behave. A neutral face, a confident gaze, and pauses before speaking make more impact than 1,000 words. Learn to enjoy silence. Don't fill every moment with unnecessary words. Truly powerful people are comfortable in silence because they know they don't need to prove anything. Make people ask more about you. Don't reveal everything immediately. Leave room for curiosity. Interest grows when there's something to discover. Be aware of the power of the pause. When someone asks you an uncomfortable question, don't answer immediately. Take a moment to think, to measure the ground. That pause makes others feel like what you're going to say has weight and value. Don't share your weaknesses with anyone. People can use that information against you. Make sure that those who have access to your vulnerability are people who truly deserve it. Practical exercise to strengthen your silent presence. For 1 week, practice the following. Respond with fewer words. Don't explain more than necessary. Be clear, concise, and direct. Observe more than you speak. Analyze how people act when you don't reveal all your information. Use pauses in your conversations before answering. Take a breath, maintain control. Don't announce your plans until they're a reality. Let people be surprised by your actions, not your words. The result of mastering the art of silence. When you control your information and don't reveal everything immediately, people begin to see you differently. Some will feel uncomfortable because they can't read your intentions. Others will admire you because you project a confidence that few have. Some will try to decipher you because the unknown is always more attractive than the predictable. Here's the key. When you become a mystery, power shifts in your favor. But there's something else that makes truly unreachable people different. Not only do they know when to be silent, they also know when to prioritize themselves above all. And we will talk about this in the next point. 4. When you prioritize yourself, power dynamics change in your favor. Most people live by putting others first. They do everything to please, fit in, and be accepted. And this is the mistake that makes them weak. Because every time you put yourself last, you give someone else control over your life. Carl Jung spoke about the importance of individuation, the process of becoming a complete and independent person. But you can't achieve this if you keep sacrificing yourself for people who wouldn't do the same for you. The unreachable people have understood this. When you prioritize yourself, power shifts in your favor. Why prioritizing changes your energy? The problem is that we've been taught to feel guilty for thinking about ourselves. Since we were young, we've been told that being selfish is wrong, that we must give, that we must sacrifice. But there's a big difference between being selfish and having self-love. Selfishness is demanding without giving, while self-love is giving without allowing yourself to be drained. And here's the key. When you begin to prioritize yourself, people perceive you differently. You stop being an easy option. You stop being someone they can use when it suits them. You become someone with standards, and people respect those who have standards. Fact number 1. Those who don't prioritize themselves will always be an option, never a priority. If you constantly sacrifice your time, energy, and well-being for others without receiving the same in return, all you're doing is training people to give you less than you deserve. Think about this. If you're always available, they will never value you. If you always say yes, they'll assume you don't have a life of your own. If you don't respect yourself, no one else will. The people who are truly unreachable have learned to set boundaries, not because they are cold or distant, but because they know their energy is valuable and they don't give it away easily. How to start prioritizing without guilt. Learn to say no without explanations. You don't have to justify why you don't want to do something. A simple, no thank you, is enough. Stop giving without reciprocity. If you notice that you're always the one giving, putting in the effort, doing all the work, stop. Observe who is truly there for you. Cut access to those who don't value you. Not everyone deserves a place in your life. If someone only shows up when they need something, remove them from your circle. Invest time in yourself before others. Don't put anyone above your peace of mind. If something drains you more than it adds to you, it's not worth it. Get rid of the guilt for prioritizing. You owe your time and energy to no one. If someone is upset because you put yourself first, that person benefited from you neglecting yourself. The experiment of prioritizing and its immediate effects. If you still doubt how prioritizing can change your life, do this experiment. For 1 week, say no to something you really don't want to do without feeling guilty. Observe how people react when you stop being always available. Take time for yourself without external interruptions. Reflect on how many times a day you act out of obligation instead of true desire. You'll see something surprising happen. Those who truly value you will respect your space and boundaries. Those who are only there for convenience will fade away. And that's exactly what you want. What happens when you become your own priority? When you start prioritizing yourself, people treat you differently. Those who value you will stay and respect you even more. Those who were just there for convenience will disappear. And those who once took you for granted will suddenly feel like they are losing you. But here's the key. When you give yourself the value you deserve, the world returns it to you. And there's an even higher level you must reach. The total transformation of your presence. It's not just about prioritizing. It's about radiating an energy that makes the world perceive you in a completely different way. And we'll talk about that in the next point. 5. When you reach this level, the world starts to treat you differently. When a person becomes unreachable, their energy changes. They are no longer someone who begs, chases, or lets themselves be dragged by what others want. They are someone who knows their worth and isn't afraid to lose what doesn't serve them. Those who have reached this level have developed a presence that is felt. It's not something that is said, it's something that is perceived. When you walk into a room, people can notice the difference. You don't need validation. You don't need approval. And that's why suddenly you begin to receive more respect, admiration, and more opportunities. Fact number 1. People respect those who fear losing nothing. Carl Jung spoke about the concept of individuation, the process of becoming a complete person without depending on the outside world. When you reach this level, the way others perceive you changes radically. Think about this. Have you ever met someone who doesn't need anything from anyone, and for some reason, everyone wants to be close to that person? That's because independence is attractive. When you are someone who stands on their own, people stop taking you for granted. Those who once ignored you start seeking you out. Opportunities come without you having to force them. Fact number 2. Your presence becomes stronger without needing to say anything. Unreachable people don't have to prove anything. They don't seek to impress or attract attention. But somehow, they end up standing out. Why? Because self-assurance is magnetic. Here's the difference. Someone who seeks approval talks too much, tries to be liked, wants to fit in. Someone who is unreachable simply exists with firm energy without the need to prove anything. And here's the key point. When you reach this level, people start treating you as someone worth knowing. How to consolidate this state and not go back. Reaching this level is one thing. Maintaining it is another. Here are 3 keys to ensure that you never again become someone others can control or manipulate. Never put anyone above your peace. If someone makes you doubt your worth, that person doesn't deserve a place in your life. Don't explain or justify yourself when you make a decision. Stand firm. You don't need to convince anyone that you're doing the right thing. Surround yourself with people who also have this mentality. If you surround yourself with insecure people who depend on validation, it's only a matter of time before they drag you back into that cycle. Fact number 3. When you are unreachable, social dynamics change in your favor. Being unreachable doesn't just mean that people see you differently, but that the game changes completely. People who once ignored you now seek you out. Those who thought they could manipulate you now feel uncomfortable in your presence. Opportunities start coming your way without you having to look for them because people sense the energy of someone who knows their worth. Exercise to stay in this state. If you really want to ensure that you never lose this mindset, do the following. For 1 week, observe who tries to get your attention and ask yourself if they truly deserve it. Every time you feel the need to explain or justify yourself, stop and remain silent. Eliminate any behavior that indicates desperation to be accepted. Every night, reflect on whether you acted from security or from the need for validation. What happens when you reach this level? When you finally reach this point, the world responds differently. People admire you, but they don't completely understand why. People start treating you with more respect, even without you doing anything. You feel a freedom you didn't have before, because you no longer need anything from anyone. Here's the difference. When you are someone who no longer needs approval, attention, or validation, you automatically become someone people seek. But to get here, you need to leave behind everything that once made you dependent on the outside world. And that's what sets apart those who are still trapped by others' expectations from those who truly become unreachable. Conclusion: the path to becoming truly unreachable. If you've made it this far, you already know something. Becoming unreachable is not an act of arrogance, but an act of personal power. It's understanding that no one has the right to control, manipulate, or make you feel less than what you are. It's taking charge of your own life and setting clear boundaries that no one can cross. The people who reach this level no longer play by others' rules. They don't seek approval, they don't ask for permission to be who they are. And that's why the world treats them differently. Because when you don't chase, you become the magnet. When you don't beg, you become the prize. When you don't explain yourself, you become a mystery, and mystery always attracts. What happens when you adopt this mentality? Your presence changes. You stop being someone who can be ignored or taken for granted. Relationships that didn't add to you disappear. Only those who truly value your energy will stay. Opportunities come on their own because security is magnetic and people sense it. You gain peace of mind because you no longer exhaust yourself trying to fit in or please everyone. But this isn't something that happens overnight. It's a decision you must make every day. Every time you want to react impulsively, every time you feel the need to explain yourself, every time you doubt your worth. Remember, it's you who decides whether to remain accessible or rise above it all. Your challenge from today. I want you to do this. Comment below with the following statement to reaffirm your commitment to this change. I choose to be unreachable to everything that doesn't add to me. My energy is valuable, and I protect it. Let the world know that you are no longer the same person who used to need validation or attention. You are someone who respects themselves, who prioritizes themselves, and who isn't afraid to let go of what no longer serves them. And when you do this, when you truly live it, you'll see how the world starts treating you the way you've always deserved to be treated. Because being unreachable isn't about distancing yourself from the world. It's about getting closer to your best version.